Picture this. You finally start making real money. Not surviving money. Actual disposable income. You pay off a credit card, you build a savings cushion, and for the first time, you feel like you're winning. But a year later, you look around and you're not any richer. Meanwhile, someone who earns the same as you seems to be pulling ahead, buying property, investing, building something, and you start wondering, what do they know that I don't? Here's the truth. It's rarely about a secret investment or a lucky break. It's about a handful of quiet habits that never make it into the highlight reel. My name is Jack. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but still not getting ahead, hit subscribe, because today we're breaking down 3 habits wealthy people rarely talk about publicly. Let's start with the uncomfortable one. Habit 1. They treat money conversations as boring, not exciting. Most people get emotional about money. Panic buying stocks, panic selling during a dip, chasing the next hot trend. Wealthy people, on the other hand, tend to make money decisions the same way they'd approve a grocery list. Calm, repetitive, almost dull. Here's what that looks like in practice. They automate their investments so there's no decision to make every month. They review their finances on a schedule, say the first Sunday of the month, instead of checking constantly out of anxiety. Boring, consistent behavior compounds. Dramatic, emotional behavior erodes. Let's look at the math for a second. An investor who contributes $500 a month for 20 years at an average 8% return ends up with roughly $295,000. An investor who does the same thing but panic sells during 2 market downturns and re-enters late might end up with $60,000 to $80,000 less. Same income, same effort, worse outcome. The difference isn't intelligence. It's emotional discipline. Now, here's what most people don't realize about habit 2. They treat debt like a tool, not a trap, but only for very specific purposes. This isn't good debt versus bad debt in the vague way it's usually taught. It's sharper than that. Wealthy people rarely use debt to fund things that lose value, cars, vacations, gadgets. They reserve borrowed money almost exclusively for things that can generate income or appreciate. A business, real estate, education tied directly to earning potential. Everything else they pay cash for or skip entirely. You might be thinking, Lamar, that sounds obvious. Sure, but here's the part that isn't obvious. This habit isn't really about debt. It's about asking one question before every purchase. Does this make me money or does it just cost me money? Most people never consciously ask that. Wealthy people ask it almost automatically. And over years, that single filter quietly reroutes tens of thousands of dollars away from depreciating stuff and into appreciating assets. Which brings us to habit 3. And this is the one nobody wants to hear. They're comfortable being underwhelming for a long time. Think about it. Most people want the fast version of wealth. The 6-figure launch, the crypto spike, the overnight flip. But if you actually study people who build real, lasting wealth, their timeline is almost always slower and less exciting than you'd expect. 10, 15, 20 years of unremarkable, repeated decisions. Let me give you a quick analogy. Building wealth. The boring way is like watching ice melt. Nothing seems to happen minute to minute. But check back in an hour and the whole shape has changed. The people who get frustrated and give up are usually just checking too early, not doing anything wrong. So let's summarize the 3 habits. First, they treat money decisions as calm and automated, not emotional and reactive. Second, they filter every debt decision through one question. Does this earn money or cost money? Third, they accept a long, unremarkable timeline instead of chasing a dramatic one. None of these are secrets. None of them require a special account or a lucky tip. That's actually the uncomfortable part. The habits were never hidden. They're just unglamorous, which is exactly why most people skip past them looking for something faster. If this shifted how you think about building wealth, hit subscribe. And I want to know, Which of these three habits do you think is hardest to actually stick with? Let me know in the comments, because that's usually where the real progress starts.